Good evening. Christina, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I say 2 more minutes and we'll start. Do we know if anyone said they can't make it, Christina?
Nope, let me text a few now.
Oh, 2 minutes and we'll get started.
Madam Chair, I do want to give you a heads up and apologize to the team as well. I do have to leave at 5:15 because I have a family learning session at 5:30.
Okay, thank you.
And this time for once I put the SGC report first, so hopefully we'll get.
Thank you.
You are.
Good afternoon, everyone.
And Ms. Brody, I believe that is everyone on the committee.
All right, and Ms. Santiago, Vice Chair Brody, good afternoon. But just wanted to share with everyone, I do have a hard stop at 6. My son's winter concert is tonight, and he is the star drummer at the Windsor High School. So I need to be done by that time. So I think we'll be done, but just wanted to make sure I shared that. And if I have to get off, the team will be here.
Okay, thank you. So calling the December 2021 Family and Community Engagement Committee meeting of Hartford Public Schools to order. Welcome everyone that may be joining us via YouTube. Thank you for taking the time. So we're gonna hop right into item 1.01, LEAP acceptance of funds.
Sorry about that. I had to turn down the heat in my office. It got warm. It got really warm. All right. So LEAP stands for the Learner Engagement and Attendance Program. And so during COVID-19, we're still in it, but Governor Ned Lamont, he launched a program for K-12 students that were struggling with absenteeism during the 2021 school year. And so 15 school districts across Connecticut were selected to receive funds from Connecticut's COVID-19 recovery. And so these weren't dollars that the school districts had to apply for, but the governor said these monies are going to be given to these school districts. So the acronym is LEAP, and with the LEAP funding, school districts were asked to support homes through engagement with families, helping students return to, regular schooling, and they're doing this through home visits. So Hartford Public Schools, we were a leader in the state when the pandemic started. We were out there doing home visits before many other districts even realized like this was something to do. So we have been a leader in the state, continue to be a leader in the state for home visits. So when these monies were given to us, we were like, we can take these dollars and build on what we are doing. So wanted to bring it here to the Family and Community Engagement Committee, one, to share that we were given these dollars through the State Department of Education. And of course, my learning and still learning curve for me is that these monies, even though we did not apply for them or it's not like a typical grant, must be accepted by the Board of Education before we can start to expend those dollars or even act on those dollars. So wanted to just bring it here to the committee. Again, we've been leading in home visits. The home visits that we are doing really critical to student need, trying to ensure that families are receiving what they need, and we get that information through many of our home visits. So that was just what I wanted to present in regards to the acceptance of funds for the Learner Engagement and Attendance Program, also known as LEAP.
So a point of clarification, do you have a plan for the funds?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
is that, so
I apologize.
so is that something we're discussing here, or?
So the plan
I don't know
for
if other board members have, are interested in that part of it.
So just to, and thank you for asking for that point of clarity, the LEAP dollars are to support our current home visit work. So building on what we've already been doing as a district for home visits. That's what those LEAP dollars are specifically for. And that's why they were awarded to those 15 school districts, is to assist with the home visits. So
For someone who doesn't know what that entails, like so the funds will assist in helping you do or continue doing what, or expand on what?
You're on mute, Chief.
oh, thank you. And thank you for that. And I don't want to, and we'll say duly noted, because we've been doing it. So we are like entrenched in the work, but definitely want to back up to say that in March of 2020 as a district, we began doing home visits. And we started doing those home visits to find students that either had not logged into the virtual setting at the time. And from there, what we did, we created a framework throughout the 2021 school year to say, this is how we were going to conduct and carry out home visits as a district. So we created a home visit protocol that is being used currently by our support teams, our FCSSPs, our student engagement specialists, our BTs, and anyone that is going out to do a home visit. That home visit protocol entails a set of questions that need to be asked, sharing with the family that I'm coming to talk with you. We have even gone as far as before we would just kind of go, but now as a part of our home visit protocol, we are asking our support teams to make appointments with families. So that is the plan of action that we are taking, that as we look at attendance, climate, and engagement, coupling that with home visits, our aim is to, one, keep students engaged and re-engage students who have either fallen by the way or their attendance is spotty. Also, as a part of the LEAP work, looking at home visits as a way to connect with students and not make it feel like it's punitive that we're only going out to see students who are falling by the way with attendance. So that is our plan. As a part of that plan, we are also looking at incentives. We've used incentives in the past. And when I say incentives, I mean, you come to school, when we do a home visit, you might get a swag bag that has different things in it. When we go out to families, we are also sharing resources, referrals to different programs as needed for that family. And then also trying to build a team that would be doing home visits, doing non-traditional working hours. And of course, that's something that they would volunteer to do. But yes, we would look to have a stipend. So the monies that we are receiving through LEAP would be able to address those pieces, incentives, stipends for folks that are going to do home visits during non-traditional hours. And with the LEAP program, we had to submit, of course, a budget. We had to submit an actual plan. So that's our implementation plan for home visits. And I think during the workshop on Monday or Tuesday, I can't remember which day it was, we talked about the number of home visits that we've already done for this school year to date.
Do you recall that number?
I can pull it up one moment.
And board members, do you have any questions? And can you say again what LEAP stands for?
It stands for Learner Engagement and Attendance Program. And that is the acronym that was given to the program by Governor Ned Lamont and team. And the RESC, our regional RESC, which is Capital Region Education Council, they were appointed as the steward of the dollars. So we would be accepting those funds from our regional RESC, because that's how the governor did the LEAP plan, is that the regional education councils, they're the ones that were working with the respective school districts.
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. So these dollars, hey, Boo, all right. These dollars are coming from the state of Connecticut, and we're receiving them. And the plan that you just laid out, that is what the dollars will be spent on. And who on your, are you hiring new people to do this level of engagement? Or are you just supporting or boosting the work that you're already doing?
We are not hiring new people. We are using our support teams that from the inception of home visits. And I'm not ashamed to say it. I've been sharing it even with RTA from our RESC, that the home visitor protocol that was created by Hartford Public Schools does look eerily similar to the one that is being used by LEAP. And that's okay, because for me, that means that we're doing something really good here in Hartford. And all of us, we've been working with people like Attendance Works and looking across our country to see how we can do this work. But we are not hiring anyone new. Our teams have been doing this work for the last year and a half and will continue to do the great work that they have been doing. So we are building on what Hartford has already implemented.
Okay, and so with what you've already, so is there a goal or benchmark in mind that you may have of, once you give us the number of what you've already done, is there a way to give us an estimate of what you think you would complete? Would you go up and have 10% more engagement, 25% more engagement, 50% more engagement? Is there any metrics that you can foresee of how you can have a level of accountability and show growth?
Okay, so Pastor AJ, I guess want to reframe the question. Are you asking about engagement or home visits? This is relative to home visits.
Yeah. So for me,
Mhm.
for me, don't mean it. My apologies. Go ahead.
No problem. So I think I understand what you're asking. I just wanted to make sure that part was clear.
Yeah,
So
no, for
yes,
me, when
we
I
would-
say engagement, I mean home visits. To me, that's a level of.
And that's why I asked. So for us, we would want to look at our home visits, and by implementing like a non-traditional team or non-traditional work hours, with all the other responsibilities that are in place for our support teams, maybe they can get to, and Alejandro is on the phone, maybe right now we're seeing 50 home visits in a week. If we implement non-traditional hours and there are particular schools that are unable to meet those 50 home visits for the week, we can work with those schools to really try to get to an optimal number of home visits. As a district, in our plan, we have not said that we need to do 1,800 home visits by February. What we did say is that we are trying to reach at least 50% of those students in need of a home visit. That's how it reads right now in our plan. And just want to double check that. Let me grab my folder with the actual plan in it. So that's how we are looking at the actual engagement, or as you would say, the home visits.
Okay. And like.
Do we know, so
Go ahead.
50%? Why 50? The aim, why is the aim 50%?
And I just want to make sure I'm reading it correctly. One moment. Team, I lost my Bible. You guys know I always have it on me. But I found it. Okay. So it reads that 50% of our home visits would use the new home visit protocol. That is what it reads, that 50% of our home visits would use the new home visit protocol. So as a team, we wanted to standardize it, have ease of data capture. So we've created a page in PowerSchool to actually track our home visits. So the 50% is that we wanted to use the new home visit protocol for 50% of the home visits. And Alejandro, I think we're comfortable to say that we've met that.
I believe so.
Okay.
So is the entire aim is just, our goal is to just reach 50% of the home visits? Because we have a number that's saying all of these students, for one reason or another, warrants a home visit.
Mhm.
Our aim is just to reach half of the students. Am I
No.
understanding that correctly?
No. The 50% is relative to the home visit protocol that we've established. So we established a new home visit protocol. And right now I'm saying that for all of our home visits, our metric was that we wanted to ensure that at least 50% of those visits utilize that new protocol. But right now we've trained all of our support teams on the new home visit protocol. So all of the visits that we are doing are now utilizing that. So it was about the protocol. If you need a home visit, you're going to get a home visit.
So please help me understand why half of them would have the protocol and half wouldn't.
Okay, so
Is
let
it
me try to
because
say-
some was already done?
So let me try to reframe that. We rolled out the new home visit protocol in September. We never stopped doing home visits. We did home visits all throughout the year. So even during the summer, during summer school, support teams were on the ground doing home visits. So now that everyone's been trained in the home visit protocol, everyone needs to use that protocol for the home visit. So when we wrote this plan and we said that 50% of the home visits would use the new home visit protocol at that moment in time, we were saying, okay, at least half of the home visits would utilize the home visit protocol because we hadn't yet trained. Some had it, some didn't. But now that everybody is trained, that's all we're doing is using that new home visit protocol.
Okay, so is there a assessment or a rubric or something that's used when you go out to do home visits, or is it some protocol depending on why you are actually doing the home visit? Or is it just standard for everyone that you're going out to their homes, that this is the, you're asking these questions? Is it across the board?
Alejandro, do you want me to answer or do you want to go ahead and answer? Okay, so yes, the home visit protocol is standard across the board. Anyone that goes out to do a home visit, the questions are there that you need to answer. Oh, yes. The questions are there that needs to be answered. And what we are looking to add is actually an exit survey that we will send to families that they can complete to let us know what they've received from or how they're rating us on that home visit. And that piece is to come. So I think that comes back to your original question, Pastor Johnson, is like, how are we gauging like the engagement or how families are feeling about the engagement? Yes, we're looking to do an exit, like an exit slip, exit survey via a QR code that we'll leave with families at the home visit.
So can you just quickly just walk me through, you know, practically, right? Like, how, like, when you do the home visit, what do you do when you get there? What's the conversation? You don't have to go in deep detail, but just for a person who has never been on a home visit, can you just tell me what to expect or what parents are to expect when you get there?
Yeah,
'Cause
what I
some
was
people
gonna
get-
ask
Yeah.
for in the interest of time, what I was gonna ask for is for committee members just to get a copy of the questions so we can gauge the experience. I'm thinking
I was
we
gonna,
have someone,
go ahead, Ms. Brody. I apologize. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was gonna suggest the same thing, because I don't know how many, I will personally say I can't remember how many agenda items we have. And I don't know I don't know all of the questions. I was just gonna say if that can just be emailed over so that we can, in the interest of time for the committee.
Okay, because I mean, I have it, I can share it right now if you wanted to do that, or, you know, we can send it to Christina.
Or we could maybe just discuss it next month, because it would be interesting to know, because we always talk about the home visits and now we have the, you know, we're receiving funds to do it. It could actually be an agenda item for next month. That's fine.
Okay,
And the amount of the funds that are going to be accepted for LEAP.
it's 1,045,580. And this is over 3 years. So this is not like all at once, it's over 3 years.
Okay, Ms. Clark has a question. Your
Thank you so
hand is
much.
up.
Thank you so much, Ms. Brody. The question was answered with the 3 years. I know Pastor AJ asked a question in relations to our continued improvement of our of what we're doing with the home visits. I'm just curious, with the added money, are we looking to change anything with our current model? I know you stated enhancing it, which is great. I want to ensure that we're doing that. And then also, are we looking to have some of our community-based organizations support this work in addition to the work that the team has been doing?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, and thank you for the question, Chairwoman Clark. And actually, we'll need to add that to the talking points, because yes, as a part of the work that the ACE team, Alejandro, our team, we've been doing, we can't do it outside of our community partners, and they have been so instrumental in assisting with the home visits. So yes, as a part of the plan that we submitted, yes, our community partners are a part of that because they're so instrumental in doing this work with us. And there was another part to the question, yes. And are we looking to change anything? Some of the things we have changed, clearly the protocol, but the training that we have done, we've been doing training, really it feels like bi-monthly. And so we'll continue to do hands-on training, you know, role playing, inviting individuals, consultants to come in to talk to our teams about doing home visits. Because again, it's just a tool and a model that has been working. And I think by having the exit slips, it's also going to give us additional information on where we can tweak and do better for our families.
Thank you so much. And through you, Ms. Brody, one last question.
Yep, go ahead.
With the funding that's coming in, do we know, and forgive me, because I know you shared in the beginning that the money was coming, do we know exactly how we were named in that? Like, how did they come and say, all right, Harper, we want to give you this money? Just out of curiosity.
Got you, Madam Chair.
Ms. Blackburn, go ahead.
Thank you. My understanding is that they looked at urban centers as well as during the pandemic, that first year of the pandemic, districts that did have a particular chronic absenteeism rate. I can share that in the greater Hartford area, most of the Alliance districts, East Hartford, Manchester. I don't know if Bloomfield is on the list, but I know East Hartford, Manchester, Danbury, and then some of the smaller towns that are also part of the Alliance District. And I have the full list of all 15 districts that I can share with Ms. Santiago did receive LEAP funding.
Thank you so much. That was just, it's just exciting to hear that they would want to invest in our work. So that's, I just wanted to know how we came on their list. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Madam
And
Chair, I am all set.
thank you. Madam Chair, just a point of privilege, if I may.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Just also wanted to share, and I'll send this to Christina. They put out an article about home visit work, and they put out an article for home visit work, and Hartford was actually named in that article. And consistently over the last few months that we've been doing the LEAP work, Hartford has remained out in front amongst all 15 towns based on the work that we were already doing. And they've acknowledged that this is work that Hartford started, they were doing, and continue to kind of lead the pack. So thank you for the point of privilege. And I'll share that article with you, Ms. Santiago.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson, were you all set, or do you have you want to add something before we move on to the next
Yeah,
item?
no, I appreciate that. I just want to get clarity of just what questions are being asked at the home visits and what do they look like practically. Obviously, we don't have to do that now due to time. That's what I've heard. But I think that's important for us and the viewers of this to know what exactly a home visit looks like, as questions may come to us or come to any one of our board members regarding exactly what it is and what happens at a home visit. So
Thank you. So I put this up quickly and I will share it with Ms. Santiago. And you'll see the part here in blue that says offer QR code to complete the survey. That was added. That's like the most recent addition as we've gone through, just our progress monitoring and checking like what we need to do next. But this was shared and was trained on. It's a part of our manuals here. So yes, I will go ahead and share that so you have it.
Are there actual questions here? It's not really big on my, and I know this is probably the biggest we could get it. But are there some specific questions that we could be sent that actually? Okay. Because I see this is, of course, like the protocol, preparing people to when you are going to be engaging our families, but the specific questions, Mr. Johnson, that's what you're looking more so
yeah,
for?
because yes, ma'am, because some parents could see a home visit and not say they'll confuse it with a DCF visit, but if the intention is not clear, it could be come in as if you're investigating and not coming in for a friendly visit. And so I just want to make sure the tone and tenor of the questions lend itself to a more friendly visit as opposed to an investigative, we trying to see what you're doing wrong and we're not a partner, but questions that make us partners as opposed to, because the parents I deal with know, you ain't coming in my house unless you got a good reason to, wrong or right. So I just want to make sure that as the engagement happens, it doesn't come off as an investigation, but a friendly visit in support of the child and family. That's it.
Gotcha.
So I asked Ms. Santiago if we could discuss this next month, because I'm sure that as a result of the home visit, there may be that may be the case, right? I'm not naive enough to think that we're in the house and we're seeing and hearing things that, I believe all of us are mandated reporters. So let's be honest. The intent is not to come in and report you to DCF, but depending on and I'm assuming that's why some doors we knock, we don't get an answer, and we're still after parents and still trying to engage with them. And some may be for that very reason, but I don't think that we can say, while it's not the intent, it may be a result of the meeting, that there is DCF involvement or some further follow-up, refer to services or supports or, what have you. That may be why we're there, because we know it's the support that's needed to a family that we're trying to connect them to. But yeah.
And the last time I'll say it, and yes, next month, but I just love the spirit of your question, Pastor AJ. I do. I love the spirit of your question, simply because as a team, all of us that are on this call, when we were planning for that home visit protocol, we were clear, like, nope, this is not what we're doing. We love and respect our families. And so even on the calls that we've had with other LEAP implementers, we're like, no, you can't roll in just any kind of way. Like, we understand what that feels like. So a home visit doesn't have to be at your house. It could be at the laundromat. It could be at your local church. It could be wherever you feel comfortable. So I love the spirit of your question, and can't wait to have that dialogue, because everybody on this call, no, that is not our aim. It's not for us to go in to try to investigate you, to report you. We are really trying to learn from you. And so some of the questions that are asked, we're like, okay, like, tell us, like, what are your hopes? What are your dreams for your child? How can we assist? So I want you to know that I love the spirit of your question. I really do. Thank you.
Okay, moving along. So I'm assuming board members do not have an issue with this item and accepting funds, accepting the LEAP funds. So we are going to the school 2.01 School Governance Council update.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So quickly, I do want to celebrate our entire district, all of our schools, our principals, FCSSBs. They have done an outstanding job. We have 0 schools with no SGCs. All of our schools that require an SGC by state statute have a seated SGC. Most of them, 52% of them have a fully seated SGC, 14 members. And for the 47%, the majority of them are only maybe 1 member down or 2 members down. We have very, very low percentage of schools that require 3 or more members. So that's very, very exciting. I am working consistently with our EDSLs, with our principals and our FCSSBs to encourage elections, and then just keep getting the word out. The process is working, the protocol is working. So we are very excited about that. A little update. Of course, as membership goes up, as SGC's rosters come in, we are seeing the difference between last year and this year is dramatic. Again, like I said last time, it's attributed to 2 things, right? Data collection and, of course, engagement. We cannot say that there wasn't the engagement or that there wasn't the data collection. It's a combination of both, right? So now we have everything in one place. One person is handling everything. Admins, FCSSBs, people within the school buildings, SGC chairs, they know who I am. They have my I think they have my home phone number at this point. They know where the information needs to go. So it's getting to me. People are contacting me, so I'm very excited to share that we have these numbers, and these are real life numbers, right? Every day I get new information, I update the spreadsheet. This is always up on my computer. So we're very excited about those numbers.
Thank you. I have a question in regards to the state statute concerning SGCs. Does it state anywhere that a parent who has children? I'm like, I was saying that my
It's
dog
mine.
hear your, no, I was thinking that my dog hear your dog, but
Oh no, we're gonna have a problem.
no, he's snoring like he worked a whole full 8 hours today. And
Good
I'm
for
like,
him.
really? So everywhere I go, he goes. So, is it anywhere that states a parent who have children at 2 different schools, can they not be a co-chair at both schools? Is it anywhere that prevents that from happening?
It is not on the state statute. I have looked it up on the state statute. I have been revising our own old book that needs to be revised again, because there's a couple of things on there that are the state statute was updated, but that is something, and to me, and I'm speaking of me, right? My own person, that could be viewed as a conflict of interest, but that would be something for us to maybe look into and establish a new guidebook and new policy, regarding that, if that's something that we want to look at, because it's not on the state statute. The state statute is just very specific as to which schools need an SGC, what an SGC looks like, and what are the terms, right? So that's basically what's on there. Everything else that has been added or spoken about, right, previous years before I came in, maybe before even the office was created, was based on the board policy. So if it's something out there that was mentioned before, we are definitely trying to say, hey, this is what it says now, this is what we're doing. But it's very dicey. I know last year we had a situation like that. And the family member decided, she had a conversation with us and she said, you know what, I am going to step down from this school as a SGC co-chair, and I am going to stay on this one because this one needs me more. I don't think we've had that this year so far. But yes, that's something that is worth looking into.
But per statute and policy,
Yeah,
nothing
it's not on
prevents
there. It's
Okay.
not on the statute, no.
Another clarifying question. Nothing prevents a SGC co-chair to not hold that seat and be a PTO president in the same school.
Can you repeat that?
So
I'm sorry.
SGC
SGC
co-chair
chair.
in the same school, SGC co-chair and PTO president.
Okay, so that is something that I am going to say that I have been, Chief Blackbird, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, so in regards to the SGC and the PTO piece, some schools, they have bylaws for their particular schools that speak to the contrary. So on Hartford Public School SGC policy, it does not state that, but then myself and Ms. Alvarado, we've been called to meetings where schools are like, ma'am and ma'am, here are our school bylaws that say something or the other. And
So we defer to bylaws or we defer to statute and policy of the board?
the SGC policy does not speak to PTO chair or anything like that. So I want to make sure that part is clear. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't speak to that. But then we are faced with schools that they have their PTO bylaws and their bylaws for their school that say something contrary. So to Viviana's point, that's something that I think as a committee, and I think that's great work that we could do as a committee, and or even I believe Dr. Silver leads the policy component, is to look at those SGC policies. I think we're at a great place to do it because there's such, intensity and people want to be a part. So just wanted to
But,
add.
so for my question here tonight, though, there's nothing that we could say you can't do that. Like, how would we back that up?
That I want to be the PTO president and the SGC chair at my school. I want to do both. Or are
Yeah.
you asking, pardon?
Yes, that's what I'm
Yeah,
asking.
I don't see anything in the policy that speaks otherwise. I know if Ms. Alvarado, I don't know if you received that this year. I think the only thing we received was about PTO bylaws stating different,
Yes,
but
no,
was fine.
I do know that when I started as an FCSSB, I was told that the SGC chair could not be also the PTO president, and that's all I have. I don't have anything in writing. I don't, and trust me, I have read this statute many, many, many times this year. And it is not on the state statute. And yes, some schools have their own bylaws that say, hey, no, it's a conflict of interest, whatever the reason they decide as a school.
But what do we defer to? What do we defer to when that's a situation? That's what I'm trying to get an answer.
We defer to the Hartford Public Schools SGC policy. That's what we're going
Okay.
to defer to. So state statute can dictate, and I believe the SGC policy was built from the statute. And when you reach out to the State Department of Education, they're like, okay, well, you have statute, but what is your district policy?
Mhm.
So,
Okay, so I know I derailed the questions in that, but I didn't know if board members have any questions regarding the data or anything else concerning SGCs.
I don't
Mr.
necessarily have a
Johnson?
question. Do you, Madam Chair? I necessarily don't have a question. I think that it's really good that the engagement is up pertaining this, because I have personally been in schools at a particular time in history where principals were just begging people to be a part of SGCs and pulling people off the street to be a part of it. So it seems like the engagement is up. And I'm not sure how we deal with development of SGCs, because a lot of the parents who are on SGCs and PTOs don't have, it's school to school, and this is not a general blanket statement, but in my experience, I've seen parents not have the experience to be on these places. And so when they get in and they start to get the budget season, they just feel a little, overwhelmed with the process. And so
Yeah, there's a training schedule through the Welcome
Gotcha.
Center. Yeah, there's
Okay,
definitely a
yeah.
training of in all areas. And well, however they need to act in their capacity, there's training. Ms.
Outstanding.
Blackburg?
So just want to clear up that misnomer for everyone, for the viewing audience, as well as for all of us here. Ms. Alvarado, and she shared it, she has done an amazing job over the last 2 years trying to do exactly that. So before folks even get signed up for SGCs, I believe she did it towards the end of last school year, and Ms. Brody was invited to speak. We talked about what is the role of an SGC member? Like, what are you asked to do? What are you going to do? How do you go about it? And then there are trainings that are offered through the Office of Family and Community Partnerships that talk about all the components: hiring process for principals, budgets, setting up your agenda with your principal, all of those things. So there is training, because you are right. In prior years, even when I was in a school, not all the time did people know their expectations. And that kind of hampered folks. Like, they didn't want to just feel like they were just there to be a figurehead. And we don't want our family members to feel like they're a figurehead. So just wanted to clear that piece up. But yes, definitely want to ensure that we're building capacity for everybody. Because myself and Viviana, when we sit with SGC members, we're also learning from them, because they're doing their own research. Most recently, she brought in the Connecticut Association of Boards of Education, and they did a training with families that families really responded well to. So just wanted to clear that piece up. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions? Okay, we can move right along to Family and Caregiver Academy. Ms. Blackburn, your hand is still up.
Oh, sorry, I'll lower it. All right, Ms. Sinkwitz, are you speaking to this one or Ms. Alvarado? I'm not sure. Okay,
If that's okay.
yes.
Okay. Hello, everyone. So in updates for our Family Caregiver Academy, it's actually really exciting. Our public ally started today. So Mauricia was in central office. She did some shadowing, some relationship building with me. She met the team. And she got to see like the strategic plan of the district. She went over, you know, what the academy is and kind of thought about questions and what's like exciting to her. And I just got to learn from her like how she wants to grow as a leader through the process. So she's from Hartford, born and raised. She actually has been in Hartford Public Schools, Achievement First and CREC. And so she's really, really excited. I think she's going to be an awesome addition to the team. And so we're excited about that. And now that she's here and everything is sort of finalized, next week we have a meeting with TNTP to kick off like the planning and the strategic planning for the academy with Mauricia, Chief Blackburn, Viviana, and myself, and then the TNTP team. And they actually put someone on our project who has a lot of experience in Hartford Public Schools specifically, which is kind of exciting. So we were really happy to hear that. And we'll be meeting next week, getting the plan ready, and then we can get feedback on it. And then that way we can start really engaging families and community members right when we get back from winter break in January. And that's the update. It's brief, but that's where we're at right now.
Thank you, Ms. Sinkowitz. And the only thing I'll add, Ms. Brody, is that as a part of that stakeholder engagement, yes, you know, we'll be looking to this committee, we'll be looking to board members. I know we have new board members coming on, so can't wait to, you know, get their thoughts and input. But yeah, I'm excited about the work. I'm really excited about this piece here, so yeah.
Thank you. Do we have any questions, board members? Okay, so moving right along to the monthly Welcome Center report.
And so sending apologies, and you all know that Ms. Fagan, if she takes a day off, that means Ms. Fagan is under the weather. So I know her, and actually the team down there, I don't know what little bug is happening. I know Ms. Alvarado was here and probably all smiles, but she also has been under the weather. So the Welcome Center report was not complete, but what I will do is ask for it to be sent to Ms. Santiago for you to review. But that's why is that team, they're a little under the weather. And that's a first because they're usually on top of it. But I do apologize for that we don't have that Welcome Center report tonight.
Okay, and I had interest in the report tonight for the reasons of just what I'm hearing from families. I don't know if they're reaching out to the Welcome Center, but I have received numerous phone calls of increased fighting. They're like, oh, at my school, it was 3 fights a day, 3 in one day. So I'm interested in seeing that data and what parents are actually reaching out about those concerns about. I'm saying, I don't know that it's increased. And I don't know, Ms. Santiago, where would we get that? It may not be through this committee, it may be, but in reviewing the data as far as fights and all of that, like for us to get a comparison, like, because, you know, we see all on the news that other districts and even in other states, they are having to even close schools because like in New Britain, like it's too many fights. We actually just can't handle it. I would like to see data that shows where we were pre-pandemic and where we are now in regards to disciplinary infractions in our schools. I remember talking about it as a board before, but I just don't know if it was in this committee. Ms. Blackburn?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So through the Welcome Center, if a parent calls and there is, it's categorized, a concern, or they need to have some sort of request, that information would be captured across all schools. So in each Welcome Center report, you do see like if you can do a comparative piece from month to month or even over years. But what I will take back to my colleagues, I will share with Chief Avila. She's the Chief of Schools in Culture and Climate. I will find out from her if there is such a report that speaks to disciplinary infractions over, a given time frame, whether it's first quarter, second quarter, and then I believe you mentioned as compared to this time last year.
Because we weren't fully, we were part remote, part. So I guess a fair comparison would maybe if it was, we could do last year, but even the year before that, when we were fully in school, whatever year that was, because I don't even think that was, because one year we were part, then it seemed like we bought back. So whatever year we were fully in school, that's the, at least go back that far to have a decent comparison.
Okay, so that would be a 1920 year. That was like the last year, but that was only up until March.
I know.
Okay.
You're on mute, Chief Blackburn.
Okay, no, I'm good. Thank you, Christina.
Okay, was there any other, I know we don't have the report, but were there any concerns that any board members wanted to express or ask a question? Okay, so.
I know look like we're about to wrap it up, but if you can just give us an update, Chief Blackburn, on the bus incident that happened today, earlier this morning, if there's any other information.
Oh, okay. So this morning, we did receive through our channels internally that there was a bus that did start smoking. The bus driver, did have the wherewithal to evacuate the bus, and the students were off the bus. They weren't too far from the school, so they did walk to the school. So Pastor AJ, that's not something that necessarily would go to the full board. But since you mentioned it, again, the students were taken care of, the ones that decided that they were going to walk the few blocks to the school, they were all accounted for. That bus was taken away and another bus came for the remainder of the students. So yes, but that type of incident would not be something that typically would get shared to the full board. That's something we handle internally through transportation, Chief David Scooge's department, the EDSL. But just wanted to voice over since you did raise it.
Thank you.
I think that's something that we would know about. I don't know. I think that's something that would be shared with the full board, but maybe I'm incorrect. And I'm wondering about some of the things that's shared with the full board, because we'll see same incidents like we saw weeks ago. I don't even know how long there was an incident with a student bringing a BB gun to school. And we were told about that, but the same incident with a BB gun was brought to my daughter's school and the full board didn't get it. I just got it because I was a parent at the school. So we are going to have a conversation with the superintendent about what comes to us and what doesn't, because it's not consistent for me, as far as like what I'm hearing from parents that's actually happening at schools versus I'm told about a similar incident at another school, but certain incidents, all of them aren't getting to us in a manner that's across the school district. So we can definitely address that to the superintendent, but good to know that, because I didn't know that actually happened. But we do have one more agenda item, and that is Title I funds update 2.04.
Ms. Mitchell Davis?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Oh, I didn't know if you wanted to begin, or did you want me to begin, or?
I can begin.
Okay.
So what you shared on the screen is the allocation per school. Some funds have been spended or allocated for 2 of our schools, and we're still working with some of the school buildings, the FCSSPs, principals, the administrators in the school building, to expend and allocate the funds for parent activities. So Title I has been on our professional learning agenda. Each month we meet with FCSSPs to talk through Title I funds, similar to the presentation last month, with scenarios and also ideas on how to capture parent voice, work with PTO, and expend some of the dollars that have been allocated per school.
And I would, sorry,
Go ahead,
Madam
Ms.
Chair.
Blackburn.
And the only thing that I would add to that is that, yes, in looking at this report, and during our last meeting, so appreciated the families that were watching, and they were like, yeah, this is something that we used to get and want to see. So just again, want to shout out our families for, being tuned in and attentive. And then secondly, looking at this, myself, Ms. Mitchell Davis, Ms. Alvarado, we have taken the approach that we are working with the EDSLs, really, and I don't want to use the word like to work with our principals. That's the word I'm going to use. To work with our principals to really follow up on this, to say, okay, well, what is going on? Because we are at the halfway mark, or almost to the halfway mark of the school year. And so would love to pull this again next week to see what has been encumbered. Like, are you in the process of expediting and using these funds? So in working with our EDSLs who work directly with the principals, we are having those conversations to say, okay, where are you with expenditures for this? Because we have provided tools, templates, we've provided an actual sheet where you can map out with your parent leaders what you're going to do. It has all the steps on it, the time frame, when you need to send it to your exec for approval, when you need to send it to finance. So all of those pieces. So we're trying to handle that similarly as we did in trying to reframe how people address the SGC work. So just wanted to add that piece, that we are trying to build, one, the capacity on both sides, that it's not something you're waiting until the very end of the year to look at, but helping our schools, our building leaders get this done now. So just wanted to share that piece, because yes, in looking at it, you're like, wait a minute. So I know this is something that we are putting on the radar of our EDSLs to discuss with principals, really trying to get these dollars encumbered. So at the end of the year, we won't have these sums of money sitting here unexpended.
I mean, even at December, we have 2 schools basically that have spent money, a 3rd school that have encumbered some. But is it clear to the school that these funds, they have to be planned out with families? Like, you don't come up with a plan for how you're going to engage families. You include families in how you're going to engage the school body in regards to the activities that would happen under this money.
Yes, that piece is clear. That piece is clear, and something that we reiterate to the EDSLs and they share with families. Also, I know our team has met in principal cohorts, and these are types of things that are discussed, like, okay, Title I, SGCs, partnerships. So it is clear to principals that you cannot just say, I'm going to, buy 100 cups of whatever. No, you need to have a conversation with your families, and that planning document that we've also shared speaks
How
to
do
that.
we make sure that is actually being done with families? Because back in the day, what happened was there was a Title I liaison. So there was a committee actually that the district supported parents through. There was a Title I liaison. Even if there was a school, one had to be a school-based person because you're at the school. But there also was a parent. Usually the parent is on the PTO or designated through the PTO, some kind of way that this parent is connected to the school representation, so the PTO, the SGC, but usually the PTO. And you knew who that person was, because a principal can say, oh, we planned this out with families. How do we know you did that? Like, what are our checks and balances to make sure that is happening? And one of the reasons why there was a district-wide committee is because it gets technical and who could spend what, how you can spend it. So it was a support group, or it was a sharing out of this is what we did at our school. And like, wow. And it was it was approved. So we already knew that it was at the school, it reached the district level to get approved to pay. So we knew, like, okay, what steps you did and what this program you put on is actually approved, so I don't have to recreate something similar. So that was very beneficial to parents in regards to the Title I funds. But my question is basically, how do we know that there is real engagement with families on planning how to spend these funds?
Duly noted. So that piece, with all the other tools and exemplars that have been given to the schools team, I guess that's something we'll need to discuss. Like, are we saying that you need to have your PTO president, SGC sign off? So Ms. Brody, you raised something that right now, it is the honor system. It's something that we've asked them to do, and we provided the tutelage to do it. But if that additional step is something that you are stating needs to be implemented at the school level, to say like a sign off, yes, because we do have the planning document that we send to them to say, okay, how are you planning out for your Title I? And the ask is for that to be done with families. But if that's something that is the directive of the committee that we need to implement, we can talk about that with our team.
I wouldn't say a directive. I would say we want to be accountable to say, we check these boxes. So however that looks, to make sure this engagement really happened, we want to cover ourselves to say, no, this is what is being done. And this is how we can tell you and show if someone asks. From you didn't ask parents how to spend them. We didn't want that event. That's how you want to engage us, but you didn't get our input on how we want to be engaged. We want to be able to say, nope, we did it. And this is, the checks and balances we have to say it. So however that looks, however we could be creative in that way. And could we maybe, because I know that doesn't the Welcome Center get funds for this same reason, but for district-wide events for all families?
So Title I, it is an entitlement piece, and it's divvied up in different ways. The Title I dollars that would be assigned to like our office, yes, we can do district-wide pieces for families. So that does look and feel a little bit different than what happens at each school.
So there's no, just how the school money is divvied up for parent activities under Title I. there's not, because it used to be a line item within the Welcome Center's budget that was shared with parents, that it was a line item that said Title I, the same way for the schools, it was the same way a line item in a Welcome Center. So I don't
Mhm.
know, maybe, is it not still set up that way?
And it's actually budget season, so yes, been looking at the budgets. And I know that the overall office, there is Title I dollars that we can utilize to do things with families, for families, i.e. like when we do the back to school events and things like that. But I don't recall a specific line for the Welcome Center. I know there's a specific line for Office of Family and Community Partnerships. But again, I love the dialogue tonight. I think that's something as a team we think about in real time, like what is it that we put in place as a check and balance to make that happen? Mr. Martinez has his hand up.
That's what I'm about to say, I see Mr. Martinez had hand raised.
So one of the things, good evening, Madam Chair. So one of the things that each school needs to have, and the names need to be submitted to us, to Ms. Alvarado, is a Title I liaison. So every school should have one. That's something that our office can definitely review, Chief. And we can see what school has one and what school does not have one, because it is a requirement for us to have. And we can definitely verify with those parents that have been assigned. I believe there should be 2 per school. So that's something that we can definitely get in contact with those particular families. And once we see that the monies are being spent, we can actually verify with them and see if they were actually part of that process.
Thank you for that, because I knew it was I remember that was always a thing, but it just hadn't been talked about in quite some time, years. Haven't had the conversation of like saying, well, do they still exist? Because this was many, many moons ago. I didn't know if any board members had any questions regarding the document that we see before us in regards to these funds. Okay, so is it safe to say, I would like this to be a standing item that we visit monthly, just because, just quite frankly, we're saying we all see the improvements and strides we need to make in Hartford Public Schools. In this committee, we all clearly understand the role and impact parents can have in this journey. And when we see money sitting there that sometimes, to my understanding, gets returned to the federal government because we're not using it to engage families along this education process, your input, you need to be educated on these things to better support your children in the school system. So whenever I see that it's not being used, it's like a thorn in my side, because if we have to come up with a plan to you do this, like, I don't know, some schools, maybe they're struggling in that area, and just maybe they're busy with so much more, and every school may have their own story. But to make the federal government think we actually don't need this money to engage our families around how to support their children in education, I think that's something we don't want to be, that school district. So that's why I like to see those numbers and just try to learn of the struggles so we can better support them at the school level to spend the funds, because there is a ton of fun things that it doesn't have to be boring activities. There's very awesome activities that can help the parent and child be interactive around the learning that's happening in the school. I just think is a matter of being creative or just informed of such activities that could take place. Because I just remember hearing stories from other schools, and it's like, wow, you guys did that, and it just sounds like fun, but it's learning. So that's the only reason that I was thinking of the Title I funds for those activities. But if there is nothing else, we can get 20 minutes back. If there's nothing else anyone had, wants to inquire about, I don't have any, thing else. I do have one more question. Are we in line with the activities for families in schools? Is there any COVID protocol, anything that prevents school events from happening that we know of due to COVID?
So I want to make sure I'm processing your question correctly. Are you asking if there is COVID protocols for a event to take place in the school building? Our health and safety team, they do have COVID protocols for just events overall for the district. So if they are having say there's a attendance assembly, they would share, okay, you can bring one parent, they have to be screened, go through all the screening, what have you. So there are COVID protocols that the health and safety team put in place for like in-person pieces in a school building. And I'm sure Ms. Santiago can get what those protocols are. But
Not quite exactly. So something like, the parent body is saying, we want to have something that brings, parents in the building, whatever an activity. Are we saying due to COVID, we know we have COVID protocols, but is there like a guideline so they know how many people are we saying could be in the building? Like, be clear, because if they're trying to plan events, they need to know what is the barrier for me to engage parents, because we're open and we're saying it's COVID, but we're open. But when it comes to a parent activity, it's due to COVID, X, Y, and Z. So I don't know if that's something across the board, across the district, or something per school, but is it captured somewhere?
Got you. So again, I will add that to my list to take back, because I know during our last meeting, the conversation was about parents having access to the school. And so now I will definitely bring that back to ask, what is the ruling as it relates? And I think it's a great question. Is it like 1 to 25 parents? It's this. 50 to 100 parents? It's this. I believe that's what you're asking.
Yes. So parents who want to have, like, we need your parents to be in the building. What is the protocol so that they can plan events appropriately? Yeah, and we're not even going to spend more than 20 seconds of me saying Annie Fisher still does not have it together in regards to families in the school. And I don't think it has anything to do with the district stating this is what we do. It has to do with school leadership saying this is what we do. There's a disconnect. And reasons are given that have nothing to do with COVID. So I don't know how that's even going to be resolved, but I've just basically given up. Stop me at the door. I'll sign out at the door. I can't come in. I need to make an appointment to come in. I'm done with it's tiring. So that's something that needs to be worked out. And I can speak for the Montessori side. I am not speaking for the Annie Fisher side, even though you still can't get in. So I'm assuming it's the entire school, but the reason that was given, I don't know if the two principals agreed among themselves. This is the restrictions they're going to have for their building together, but I have to make an appointment to go to my child's school. And the district is saying otherwise. So I don't want to make it seem like that's the district is the school.
Understood.
Ms. Santiago has been so gracious to hear my complaints about it and trying to figure it out and support, because it's like, what? And I don't think the district knows that that's the case. Like, it's like, okay, because we've talked about it in here many times, but it's not the norm. That's what I just wanted to state here this evening. It's not the norm I don't think it's the norm. I guess that's what I should say.
Understood. And Madam Chair, again, want to ask you, the board members here, are there any other pieces that you want to share with us? Things being heard in the field, thoughts, ideas that you'd like to see us consider, act on? I just think it's important to, you know, to get that purview from you all.
The only thing I've been hearing is about the violence in the schools, the concern from parents, what's being told to them. And I'm assuming Parent Square, we no longer communicate by, I don't know if all parents are plugged into Parent Square. And there's absolutely, they're saying that they have not received paper home on certain items. So I'm assuming Parent Square eliminated all paper, and some parents are very disconnected because they are not on Parent Square. That's one thing. But as far as the only other questions regarding fights and such in schools, is trying to better understand the 4,500 students that were identified for the tutoring. Are they like doing a cross? I've been asked a couple times about, are we making a connection with saying some of those students are maybe tied to the work you're doing as far as home visits? They're trying to see, is there a connection there? I've been asked that question. I haven't reached out on that. It was asked to me quite recently. Trying to just see the students that are in need of certain initiatives that we are doing and services that we are providing. Are we cross-referencing them in our data keeping?
Okay, I was trying to capture that. So the 4,500 students that have been flagged for tutoring, are we cross-referencing that group with students who are in need of a home visit?
Sorry, that one question was asked of me.
Okay,
Trying to like see, is there multiple need there and how they connect to each other?
got you. Okay. The 4,500, are there multiple pieces, components there? Tutoring, are they also on the home visit list? Like, are we looking at the number of services for, okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, just like to ask, you know, I think it's important. We're here, committee, like this is where we pull it apart and talk, so. Okay.
So I don't have anything else. If board members don't have anything else, we can adjourn this meeting. And I thank you all for your time. And I think in chat, the board members are saying they are all set. So I thank you all for taking the time to talk this evening on this very important topic that is near and dear to my heart, as you all know. But I appreciate the work.
Thank you. Have a good day.
All right, thank you. Have a good holiday. Merry
Happy holidays,
Christmas.
everyone.
All of those lovely
Merry
frames, Miss
Christmas.
Brody, like the frames, very nice.